Hi, I'm Jeffy G. If you're new to Logic or you need a refresher, this is an overview of all the drum instruments and how to create drum beats in Logic. It's pretty easy, but there's different components. The first component is something called drummer, where you get to choose with this neat little interface how the performance of the drums is carried out. And it's straightforward. You can create sections like an intro, verse, chorus, but you're defining the performance. The second piece is something called Drum Kit Designer, where you get to pick the sounds. So you got the performance separate from the drum sounds. The third piece is something called Drum Synth. Doesn't get used a lot, but it's pretty interesting. It's electronic, very popular in EDM. And the fourth and most powerful tool is Drum Machine Designer. I'm going to spend a little bit more time in explaining how Drum Machine Designer lets you define kits from samples, define pattern regions within Logic, and build your own beats in a slightly different way than Drummer does, which is the easiest part. I think you'll find this really useful.
The most obvious one is something called Drummer, where it's very simple to create a drum beat in Logic to match whatever song you've been working on. You simply click on the plus sign to add a track and choose Drummer, and you can pick a genre directly from there, or you can change it once you have that particular genre open. On the left, you see a library of all the kits that could work. So pretty simple. The tempo is adjusted obviously with your DAW, and you can make changes to that as it takes place. You have this interesting little interface that's designed to make it easy to modify the drum beat. You've got louder, softer down here, complex, and simple. And really what you're doing is you're picking the style of the drumming, not the sounds, but the style of the drummer. You're trying to capture the performance. You can do things like add percussion over here, the extent of fills, amount of swing, whether the kick is on 2 and 4, whether it's 4 on the floor. The whole idea with Drummer is that you're picking the performance, the person that plays the drum and the characteristics. So up here, you'll see you have Darcy, but you can pick different drummers, Graham, Mason, and work your way through them. There's many, many different styles in there, and every time you play it, it's going to be quite a different style to listen to. Okay, so that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is, as you can see below, you've got different sounds, so you can pick a different kit, and that's going to change the sounds that you hear when you're playing that particular style. So if I pick a different style, you can see that's a Liverpool sounding drum kit. Here's what they call a Portland style drum kit. So you've got a lot of delivered sounds and a lot of different performances delivered in Logic, and Drummer is the easiest way to get those down, get those ideas down. Each one of these sections can be put into your song. You can have an intro and a verse and a chorus, and each one can be different, and you can cut and paste them. Okay, the other thing you can do is design your own kit. If you click on Drum Kit Designer, you get this interface where you can say, okay, I want to change the snare. I want to choose different cymbals. I've got tuning and dampening capabilities. And once you have a kit defined, you can save that kit and make it your own. But you're basically choosing kits based on a preset bunch of drum sounds that came with Logic. So Drum Kit Designer is really the tool for modifying the sound of the drums to make them your own and make them sound the way you want to. Logic also has a drum synth. The synth lets you choose different kicks, snares, percussion, and hi-hats, and these are synthesized sounds. So these are all the controls that you have for that sound: pitch, tone, punch, saturation, the shape, sweep, decay, and volume, what you want that to sound. And these are typical synth sounding drums. Now, to execute them, you can create a pattern region. And in that pattern region, you can use the sequencer to define what that sound is going to be like. So you get a sense of what a drum synth sounds like.
You're going to see my face down in the corner, whether you like it or not, sorry. The last drum instrument in Logic that I'm going to show you is Drum Machine Designer. And it's great because I'm going to show you how it plays samples and how to use the pattern regions so that you can get results like this. There's a couple tricks about Drum Machine Designer. So when I add a new track, you're not going to see Drum Machine Designer on this list. So you just choose something else, and then we're going to change it. And I'll show you the weird thing about this. So we'll just pick Drum Synth and put it in. And we don't need the library. We'll close the library. And then from the drop down in the channel strip, you're going to see it's currently assigned to Drum Synth, but we're going to change that. And lo and behold, right in the middle of the list there is Drum Machine Designer. I don't know why it doesn't come up automatically, but it doesn't. So I'm going to load a kit, and there's different ways to get at a kit. Okay, and once I have it loaded, you'll see it's a kit of many samples. You can hear each sample by clicking on it. Got different sounds here, kick, snare, and you can have up to 3 panels or 3 pages of 4x4 matrix of different drum samples. And you can control all of these parameters for a particular sample, like the pitch, high cut frequency, how much reverb it has, the volume. And you have overall kit controls here that control all of the drums in that kit. If you select a particular sound, like the snare, and click on Cue Sampler or Sampler Details, you'll see there's ways to modify that particular sample. You've got LFO 1 and 2, there's a mod matrix, pitch, filter, and amp, all tools that you can use to modify that particular sample. And then in the Cue Sampler main, which is the quick sampler, you can actually change things like the fade out and the size of that one-shot clip. So you have sort of a small version of the sampler modification. You can preview each sound. Just going to close the library. That will play this region up at the top as an example. So once I had that kit selected, where did this region come from? You right click on the track where you want to create a pattern region, and it'll start off by bringing up Step Sequencer, and there's a couple different ways that you can put in a pattern here. Obviously these are all your drums. You can click on the cells that you want to execute, just like any other sampler. You can create a simple beat that way. Or you can pull up a preset pattern. If you click on this button, you'll see patterns, drums, and you can just pick a particular pattern that you're interested in and then load it in. A couple of things about the pattern region in the step editor. This one you can see has 2 pages of steps. You can have up to 64 steps. So you can, of course, reduce the size of those. It's just these 4 drums in that particular pattern. Here's one called Heavy Machinery. And the tempo of the step sequencer is being controlled by Logic. So if you modify, speed this up. I'm not going to do a full review of how the step editor works. There's other YouTube videos for that, but I just want to give you a taste of how you create patterns in the step editor. The other thing you can do is modify the velocities of any of these things. So here you can change the hi-hat, open and close, and if you just solo the hi-hat. One thing you'll notice about that hi-hat pattern is that it's going backwards and forwards.
You can set the direction, and you can have patterns that are only 4 beats in an 8 or 16 beat pattern. So I'm just going to change that to forward. You can not only change the velocity, but you can change all of these other things, like the note repeat, which is kind of a neat little thing. So you can say increase this to 4. I'll just solo that so you can hear it. So that's how we created the region up above, building kits. A couple different ways that you could do it. This kit in particular, I had predefined. So I'm going to clear this kit, clear all the pads, and I'm going to go to my clip browser in Logic, and I'm going to look for I'm just looking for a kick that I like. I like that one. So I'm going to drag that into the first spot. Then I'm going to look for a snare. Lots of snares to choose from. Okay, I like that one. Oh, I like that one a lot. So I'm going to drag that one into the second spot. Okay, let's insert a clap. There's a clap I like. Just going to put that in there. Oh, that's a clap. Put a cymbal in there. Maybe another one. Put the cinch right next to it. There's some hi-hats I like. There's another one I like. You're getting the idea here that I'm creating a custom kit. And once I've got all the drums I wanted, I can save that kit. One way to create your own kit is to drag loops or clips from the Logic clip browser. Or I can drag them directly from Finder. So I'm going to clear this kit. And what I've done is collected a bunch of samples that I like, and I'm just going to drag some of those in. So here's a snare. I'm going to put that there. Here's a kick. I'm going to put that over there. Here's some hi-hat open. Let's see. And another hi-hat closed. And I'm basically just building a kit by dragging sample. Taking samples from whatever sources I want. They can be packs that you've downloaded for free or that you've bought, or samples that you have from Splice or Loop Cloud, or they can be Apple samples. They can be from any source. That's the beauty of Drum Kit Designer, is it works with everything, and you can always modify the samples, tweak things. You can adjust the pitch, as you can see, and there's a filter that you can apply, cutoff frequency, how much reso on a particular sound. It's just a wonderful tool. It's the ultimate in flexibility. But it works hand in hand with this pattern region, okay? And when you have a pattern that you like, you can actually save that pattern as well. Now, sometimes when you have a kit that has more than the first 12 drum sounds, you can add kit pieces, and it'll show you, all the other instruments that you could add. In this case, up to 51. So I'll give you a better example of that. Playing a pattern that I actually saved. The Drum Machine Designer has 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 different drum parts. But when you look in the sequencer, you're only seeing the first 12. If you want to see the rest, you can click on the plus sign here and add kit pieces that aren't appearing right now. So you'll see there's add the unused. I'm just going to do that. And now you get to see all the drum parts. Pretty neat, huh? The other thing I noticed is if you go back down to, say, the 32 steps, you'll notice that this is actually a 4-beat pattern that's repeating. You can see the direction of each of the sounds. Play the hi-hat backwards. You can even vary it front and back. Gives you kind of a different view. That kind of variation can make it sound a lot less robotic. In Drum Machine Designer, it creates a separate track for each drum part. Okay, but there's no data in there right now. You can kind of see there's all the drums. We'll just make those all a bit smaller. And that's because this pattern region needs to be converted to MIDI. So the first step you want to do is convert this to a MIDI region. And you'll see then it's taken away the step sequencer view, okay, that you normally see for creating a pattern, turned it into MIDI, and we want to apply the MIDI based on the pitch to all the other tracks. And that's an option. Separate MIDI events by note pitch is what you want. And now what it's done is it's taken that pattern that we did for Drum Machine Designer and split it out by each drum. So now you can mix the sound of each drum. You can apply effects to each track, different effects if you want different effects on each track. And you can still modify the MIDI, of course. In the piano roll, you can make changes to the MIDI. This is usually something you do after you've created all the patterns that you want in your song and you split it up drum by drum.
That was the overview. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, add them into the comments section. If you're interested in more details about drums, I have a very extensive review that I just completed on all the third-party drum packages that are available out there, or at least the most popular ones. And I compare that to both Logic's drum solutions and some third-party bundles like Native Instruments. If you want to see that, look for that in the card above or in the description below. If you like this kind of content, click on the like button. That really helps my channel. And if you want to see more, click on subscribe.